the burden is not just tax, but it's the regulations requiring of filling out more and more forms. This is what bogs down a small business because they don't have CPAs sitting in the office to fill out those forms. So people need to recognize also when you use the word burden, you're also talking about how much time it takes to fill out those forms.
Eugene, welcome to Timeline.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate you inviting me.
So the first question asked, why is Eugene laughing? Is because I got this new toy. So this is a special day. I found out that it's your anniversary and you're spending it with me, so thank you.
No problem. Obviously, I'll be spending it with my wife and my family tonight.
Hopefully a nice dinner. And Timelines is about the person in the background. It's sponsored by the RMC, Silver Sponsors, and other people. It's on a podcast. It's different places, so you can see it Timelines. But since you're running for Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Nevada, we're also going to put it on something called Meet the Voter, which is 100% sponsored by the RMC. So appreciate that. Appreciate the Silver Sponsors. And I want to thank you for being a Silver Sponsor.
No problem.
That really helps. It helps get the message out. And the RMC is about education, training. They lean towards conservative principles and the concept that people can do so much more than they think they can. And government is there to not get in the way, but only do the things they can't best do themselves. I think that's sort of the RMC.
Well, I think, we're in a situation where, politics is not a solo game. It's a group effort, no matter what race you're in. And to have the Republican Men's Club supporting the website and such for the advertising, right. It's very helpful.
And they put it up on their TV channel. So it really is interesting, and I appreciate it. And they're actually, they are an educational organization.
Yes.
So normally we don't go into that much detail in Timelines, but since you're run for Lieutenant Governor, which is really a unique thing, I'd like to talk more about that run, and we'll talk about that in the second half. But first, I'd like to talk about you and your background. You came to Nevada when you were very young.
Yes, 1973.
High school here?
Yes. Went to Reed High School over in Sparks soon after they built it.
So how was Reed?
I don't remember too much of those times, but I would just say it's a typical high school.
And you stayed in Reno the whole time.
Well, I was a traveling salesman for some period of time, but yes, I always did want to come back to Reno. This is a great community. In Nevada, lots of times you can have anything you want 24 hours a day. When you're young and you're single, I can see the allure to that. And now, of course, we've put down some substantial roots here.
Well, you've been married 25 years as of today.
Yes, that's very true. And, we have 5 wonderful kids together. So yes, we see long term here. And
that keeps you busy. Now, you said you're a traveling salesman, but I think you've been an entrepreneur most of your career, haven't you?
That's correct. I've been the current business the last business I had it for 26 years, and as of September last year, I turned it over to my daughter. So yes, that's pretty substantial.
Well, I know you've had 3 major businesses. You sold one of them. Yeah. One of them you sort of let go by the wayside. And then the last is called Silver State Courier.
Yes, that's correct.
25, that's a long time. That's a successful business when they last. And I know you have a good number of employees, and it's varied from time to time. Mm-hmm. Things have changed. Tell us a little bit about that business and how you got into it.
Well, it's transportation, of course, and it's the epitome of supply and demand. And, you never know how good it's going to be from one month to another based on people's buying habits. And I think that it's important that you have some insight into that to be in the transportation business.
Very good. So what's the hardest part about running a business like you have?
I would say the hardest part is to learn how to deal with people in an honest way.
Really? Mm-hmm. Explain that more detail.
Well, a lot of people, believe it or not, don't say what they actually mean, and intentionally or unintentionally doesn't really matter. But the point is that you need to be able to move through that and figure out how to help other people. And when you do that, they end up helping you, and the whole world works out.
Right. It's a free market economy. Win-win works when there's integrity, honesty.
That's correct.
So, 25 years ago you set it up. Tell us a little bit more about what it did then 25 years ago, what it does now, and what challenges have you had?
Well, clearly 26 years ago when we started it started in February 1991. And what I tell you is we started out is pretty much doing what they call route work, which is allowing us to go to the same stops every day, as opposed to hotshot work, which you go to a different location and to never possibly go back to that same location. So it's 2 different types of work there. I never found it alluring to do the hotshot sort of work, and it was always the repetitive work that we were interested in. So we would go to customers who were repeatedly shipping to the same addresses, and we could offer them better service, better time, and for less money as well.
So basically, it was a local courier service. How far did you go?
Yeah, when we originally started, it was just the Reno area. By the time I walked out the door, we were statewide.
And do they like bring the mail in, sort it, and then it goes back out in the afternoon, comes in the morning, goes back out?
Right. And normally, you make your deliveries in the morning, you do your pickups in the evening for the following day. So, most of the work is overnight. Yeah.
So it's 24 hours. Who are the top clients? What type of businesses?
Well, I would say right now that the top clients would be medical.
Now, this was before the internet, really before too much. Email was around 25 years ago, but it wasn't used like it is today. Yeah,
I can remember many years ago, we'd be sitting back talking about how the fax machine was going to put us out of business. And so, what we ended up doing is we ended up finding products that couldn't fit in a fax machine. And when that happened, the whole world sort of changed. And you end up, moving very small boxes that are 6-inch by 6-inch, roughly, for medical. And that was very beneficial for us to make that transition from moving paper to moving very small objects.
That makes sense. Now, I remember 25 years ago, we've had a family real estate business for a long, long time in California, and we're in Nevada too now. But we definitely used courier services for everything.
Yeah.
Especially for escrow, title, things of that nature. Ever do any of that work?
We did all the way up to the Great Recession.
2008?
Yeah.
I can talk about that because I was activated, and I'll tell you, the world changed so much between 2007 and, let's say, 2012. You know how real estate companies ran, because now they're doing almost all online signatures and storage, things of that nature. So I had to cut into your business.
Yeah, it did. In fact, there was a situation where one of the manufacturers of that software that allowed these title companies to become more automated and use the electronic system, well, their price was too high. But you put a little stress in the system, and those companies are more likely to figure out a way so as an entrepreneur for those businesses, they needed to figure out a way to be competitive and stay in business during the Great Recession. So what they did is, believe it or not, they eliminated the courier, and they went to one of these newer formats that allowed them to do it electronically. And it turned out to be a very big win for that agency, because it also sped the situation up, which is what we see, historically through other industries.
Oh, very good. So anyway, driving on, so you've had to adjust over the years. You have good years, bad years?
Absolutely.
What are some of your best years?
Probably 98, 99, 2000, 2001.
And then what are your tougher years?
That would be January 97, the flood. Our entire business got flooded out. That was...
I heard about that. It was before my time.
Yeah.
I wasn't here.
Yeah.
But I know you've talked about that. By the way, we go back. We were in Toastmasters like 4 years ago together.
Yeah.
And I remember you talking about the flood. You talked about...
Yeah.
I forgot about that. That was a nasty flood.
It was. And for a young business like we were, and, to lose all your equipment, all your paperwork, to lose the building we were in, it was pretty dramatic.
So the Truckee River comes from out of the mountains, comes right through the middle of Reno.
Yeah.
And Reno even flooded downtown in that flood. And then you were south of town, weren't you, with your business?
Yeah, we were over in the Sparks industrial area.
And that took a big hit.
And like I said, our building went down the river. So, I understand.
Your building, did you risk your life then, or did you?
I made some decisions I shouldn't have, and I'm lucky to be here.
Well, that's crazy. So in business, everything happens. That's one thing about a business is when you own your own business, you take responsibility for everything, natural disasters, employees.
Yeah.
So in finishing up this part, because I did want to talk about your business, your background, what advice do you have for someone who wants to start a business today?
Wow. The first thing I would say is make sure you get it. Make sure you understand it's a team effort, and bring in professionals who do it for a living, whether it be your banker, whether it be somebody from National Federation of Independent Business who can offer you wonderful resources. Right. Here's an example. We're in an age now where there is no reason under God's green earth that you should be sitting back and calculating payroll by hand like the old days. Those days are gone. So you would get a partner such as a payroll company, and there's plenty of good ones out there now.
Right.
So these are the type of situations where you need to develop partnerships that'll help you with your goals.
I grew up in a family business, a very successful family business, started right after World War II. Actually, before that, they had restaurants, but they did a lot of different things. And they're a fairly large company, 4 big buildings. And I remember the payroll. My mom worked in payroll, and it was really hard for her to transition as she got it later on.
Yeah.
I mean, she's still like the guru on payroll, but I know exactly what you're talking about, how much work it would take.
Yeah, and just to fill out the federal forms, the state forms.
And it's got more complicated, too.
And it's gotten more complicated, but luckily, another entrepreneur came along and figured out a way to make it easier for entrepreneurs in the country. And I think it worked out successfly well.
Yeah, all your banks do that. So if you're starting it, we're going to go back 25 years. No, it's today, and you're 25 years younger. You're not running for lieutenant governor of the great state of Nevada. What business would you suggest that a person start today? It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, that is tough. I have to say that if you look at the more successful businesses in the last 10 years, they are not service-based. So you'd be looking for technology, and you'd be looking for your way to help speed the world up.
It's already going 100 miles an hour.
Right, but it's only going to continue.
Right.
The microprocessor has really changed how we do business. Just imagine, when I started, there wasn't a single computer. There was no cell phones. And when that funky little thing called a fax machine came in, we thought, the world had ended at first.
Especially sales and marketing, but there are a lot of other areas. We're in Nevada, which is Reno, which I've seen it explode with work right now. Yeah. At the second half, at the very end, I want you to do a commercial for Reno. Because everything is Reno sparks the northern Nevada, because so much has happened here. Yeah. And I think it's happening down in Las Vegas, too. They've got some amazing things happening down there, too.
Right.
So we'll talk about that after we get through the break. And we're also going to talk about your life and success principles. Okay. This is Bill. I just want to take this break to thank the Silver sponsors for helping support this RMC TV and allowing us to get the information out to a lot of people, thousands of people in our community who are unable to make it to the dinners and the luncheons, and they're able now to watch these debates, and they are critical debates, to learn more about who you're electing, and it's so important to really pay attention and get the right people. So again, I want to thank the Silver sponsors, and we have 3 new Silver sponsors this week: the U.S. Nuclear Energy Foundation, Gary Duarte, and Eugene Hoover for Lieutenant Governor. We want to thank the sponsors, and we appreciate all that they do. Also, just a quick reminder that the dinner debate is on Tuesday, March 20th at the Atlantis. Doors open at 6. 6:30 is served. Dinner is served, and there's a special speaker at 6:40. Devin Hilson speak about 10 minutes, marijuana and prescription painkillers, and some of the problems and issues that face our community. And then finally, at 7 o'clock sharp, the Lieutenant Governor's debate will begin. We'll see you there. If you can't make it, we'll go ahead and watch it on RMC TV and listen to it on our podcast at timelinesofsuccess.com. Eugene, welcome back to Timelines, and we're going to go right into your life and success principles. And we talked a little bit before you came on, and you said focus, continue learning, and give back. So we're going to talk about what those mean to you. So what does focus mean to you?
Have a goal. Work towards that goal every day. If you get bogged down in the branches, you'll never see the forest. So it's important to stay focused on what your goals are.
So when you talk about goals, you have major goals and then you have daily goals?
Sure, we all should.
So what goal do you have today? What's your goal, other than this wonderful podcast and vlog?
Well, to let my wife know I really appreciate everything she's done after 25 years.
That's the most important one. You got your priorities right, family and your wife, and it's a special day.
Yes.
So very good. Anniversary, 25 years.
Yeah.
So focus, just focus on one thing, write things down.
Yeah, if necessary, but after a while, you shouldn't have to do that as well.
So do you have, what's your long-term intermediate goals right now?
I would say, running for office, trying to give back to the community. And if I could, it would be to get the citizens in the state to understand that raising taxes is not solving problems. So
those are your goals. The goal is to get that message out.
Yes.
So what I would say is your goal right now is to win the primary.
Yes, that's true.
And your message is, getting the message out that let's get back to a very fiscally solvent state
Well,
it's good for business.
Well, yes, but I think it's also important is that, everybody's knee-jerk answer is if they have a problem is to raise more money and throw money at the problem.
Taxes.
Throwing money at problems don't solve issues.
Yeah, and in fact, you've seen what's happening right now with the reduction in taxes nationally. It's helping our government, helping the people and the workers.
And it's helping the right people as well.
Yeah. There's a tendency always to say that more dollars, more taxes is a solution, but we know that it's not.
That's correct.
Government. I was just looking at in 1903 because I'm reading a thing on the Wright brothers. In 1903, when the Wright brothers flew, they had a surplus of like $45 million in the federal government.
Wow.
And the taxes weren't a fraction of what they are today.
Yeah, yeah.
I did because they were talking about the year 1903, and that's how I picked it up last night. I'm with you. I want small business to be able to flourish, and I think when you overburden the small business, and we know last year we have some new taxes in Nevada that we've never had before, but it's still good to be here because we don't pay income tax.
And the burden is not just tax, but it's the regulations requiring of filling out more and more forms. This is what bogs down a small business because they don't have CPAs sitting in the office to fill out those forms. So people need to recognize also when you use the word burden, you're also talking about how much time it takes to fill out those forms. It's
form work, and you have to do it or you get in trouble.
Yeah.
You have to pay. Now, they have a new tax, which is I call it like a mill tax. It's like there's a percentage paid of the gross of your revenues for a business.
It's called the commerce tax.
It's called the commerce. That's the worst tax you can ever put on a business. It's based on gross.
Yes. Well, what's really fundamentally sour about that is the people said on the margins tax, they said no. They said no by over 70%. And yet the legislatures, as soon as they went into session, after that tax was voted down by the people, changed some of the nuts and bolts, called it the commerce tax, and passed it anyways. That's
I know.
wrong.
I watched it, folks. I watched it. It's pretty bad.
And that does not help small business, and thus does not help the job creators in the state.
No, it definitely doesn't help working people in small business. It doesn't. Even big business is still paying that mill tax unless they're excluded. I don't know about Stitch and Tesla and people like that who are huge businesses.
Right, and there is some exclusions in there where they get, if they pay the commerce tax, they get a break on the modified business tax, which is another new tax that we could easily talk about.
So we're talking about focus, and I sort of went to a sidetrack, but I know your focus is one, the primary, and then you've got daily missions, but your mission, your bigger goal is to overturn and get rid of that commerce tax.
Yes, I would love to be in a situation where we could overturn that.
And I didn't talk to you earlier about the Nfib. I meant to talk about the Nfib small business. Yeah. Tell us a little bit.
Nfib was very helpful to me. Nfib offers plenty of resources, particularly here in the state of Nevada, for young companies, particularly who need an avenue and need to have a partner for their business. So I highly recommend someone who owns a small business or is planning on owning a small business, get involved with Nfib, which is National Federation of Independent Businesses. I was in a situation while I was running my business that I was able to participate with Nfib, and I was able to go down to the legislature and testify and try to get the legislators to understand the importance of lower taxes and low regulation.
Right. What was your position in FIB?
I was chairman of the Nfib PAC for Nevada.
Really? So they have a PAC,
which they would give to legislators who basically understood those principles.
Very good. And FIB is out of D.C.
Yes.
Okay. So your second principle we talked about is continue to learn, or continuous learning.
Yes. In the age of YouTube, this shouldn't be hard for anybody at this point. So the bottom line is it doesn't matter what the subject is. And I would also encourage you that, if you make a widget, don't keep learning just about that widget. Go learn about things that are totally unrelated to your business, and you'll be surprised the things that you can come back and apply to your own business.
That's one thing we do. We do learning management systems. That's one of the things that my company does. That's one of the smaller areas. We have a few courses, and that is definitely changing. It's changing very fast. And how we do education, we could talk about that later. We could talk about education and learning. It's changed so much. We talked about, you've gone through change. We've seen change. Yeah.
Here in Washoe County in Nevada, we have a situation where we're constantly at the low end spectrum when it comes to the education of our children, and yet we keep throwing money at it, thinking somehow throwing more money at a problem solves it, and that's just not the case.
Well, you know what, though? I am happy. I mean, my kids go to Reno High School. I really like it.
Yeah.
I think the teachers and the people are just excellent.
The problem is it's not countywide.
Yeah, it does vary. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I live where I live, is because when I retired from the military, I wanted my kids to have a great high school.
Well, everybody wants that for their children. So what we need to do is fix it for the state and the county, so everybody has that same opportunity.
So your last point was give back, and you had 2 points of that. You had family, and you had give back to your community.
Yeah, and in my way that I'm giving back is to basically put in these hours to run for office. I think it's important that some of these bad actors who feel that they can betray the trust of the voters are thrown out, and I want to do what I can to work towards those goals.
Now, let's talk about your campaign and family, too, because, you know, there's a conflict here. When you're campaigning, you're out there in the public, it's tough on your family.
Yeah. If you're going to run for office, you need to make sure it's a family decision. There's just no other way. Because it takes so much time to run for office. People don't recognize the 15-hour days every day, but they are there.
It's time, it's your money, it's time that you can't make money if you have a business. It's hard in your business because, unfortunately, people know how you stand, and some people don't support your business. I mean, it affects everything.
Yeah, you know, that's true too, but at some point, when you recognize that you're right, it's important to stand up and say so.
Yeah. Eugene, what's the easiest way the listener can get a hold of you?
That's easy, www.eugenehoover.com.
Very good, very good. Nice and simple. Website's got everything.
Yeah.
It's got a contact page right in the top that you can get into the campaign.
Yeah, and you can go in there and sign up to be a volunteer, request a yard sign, donate. All that's listed on the website.
Very, very, very good. Very good. In closing, that's how you get a hold of you.
Yeah.
And we've got about 1 minute left. We actually have a little bit more time, so I always like to ask a really hard question.
Sure.
I'm going to ask a couple of hard questions. What do you like best about Nevada? That's not a hard question.
No, it's not. After being here for so long, it's not. I would say that you can have anything you want here 24 hours a day. It's a beautiful community. It doesn't have a state income tax, thank goodness. Lake Tahoe is one of the most beautiful lakes in the world. I'm a hunter and a fisherman, and so I really appreciate all that in this area.
It is gorgeous, isn't it?
Yes.
It's amazing here. Wild horses, and to the east and the west, the Sierra, and it's so close, and you do everything. From skiing, warm days, with snow in the morning and warm in the afternoon.
That's absolutely right. These high deserts like this, I like the fact that it cools off here at night.
In microclimates, actually, it's sort of like in the mountains. It evolves, it changes. You just go across the valley and it's so different.
Yeah, that's true.
So in southern Nevada, we've got a big desert. What do you like about Las Vegas?
You know, that's a fast town down there. I do enjoy going down there. Matter of fact, I just spent a week down there campaigning. Yep. And clearly, you know, they have an entertainment capital of the world down there. And I don't care if you just want to go down to see a movie or to see a specific show. I got the opportunity to go to NASCAR for the first time while I was down there. So the events that they have down there that you can go be involved in are world class, and that's worth a lot.
And we have our state. If you have kids in competition, our state competition, my kids will be down there next week. Yeah. For competition in the state. We'll go back and forth all the time. That's one thing is you do travel back and forth if you live here, if you got statewide things.
Clearly a world-class destination.
Yeah, true. So finally, where's the best place to eat Reno Sparks?
Oh, that's easy. Claim Jumper.
Oh, Claim Jumper.
Claim Jumper in Reno. And down in Las Vegas, it's Bonito, which is also a Mexican restaurant.
And you're announcing, this will probably be after the fact when this goes out, but you're going to announce at Claim Jumper. Yeah,
we're going to have our announcement party on Saturday at 3 p.m. At the Claim Jumper. And like I said, a lot of people have missed it by the time this comes out. But yes, we'll do that. And by the way, that's the Mexican restaurant.
And the last question is, one last question. I'm always like terrible. One last question. Why are you running for lieutenant governor?
Well, most importantly, to give back to my community. The community's been so good to me. The state is a wonderful state. And the second reason is we have a lot of bad actors in the state legislature. And I need to run because they passed the commerce tax. They should not have done that. So that's a glaring example of them breaking the trust they have with the citizens. And I'd like to get in there and get some of those bad actors out.
Wow. There's a million questions I could ask you and follow up, but I totally understand. I mean, a lot of politicians campaigned one way and they turned their back.
That's absolutely correct. And I won't be one of them.
I know Eugene for 4 years. You won't be one of them. Thanks, Eugene.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Bill, and thank you for watching. Go ahead and, if you're not signed in, sign into your Gmail. Go right up here and subscribe to RMC TV. And go over here, watch a couple more videos, link to our website at republicanmensclub.org. And finally, make sure you go down and leave a comment. The comments really help. See you on the next video.